Was that you making noise, or was that like a system-generated noise?
That was the iPhone. And I went to Facebook and hit the newsfeed button multiple times when it's already at the top. I love their sound feedback, like when you hit the heart of something, it does like that pop.
Yeah, they got good sounds.
All right. Ow! Best way to start, Nick Scala. Hello, my name is Marcin. This is the ClashCast, and I'm joined by Nick. Say hi, Nicholas.
Hello, everybody.
Hello. And we are covering the Apple event of March 2016. The spring event, right?
Yes, let us loop you in.
What did that have to do with anything in the event, by the way?
There were new loops. And by loops, I mean bands, right?
But they don't loop until you put them on a watch. So...
Even their taglines to their events are becoming boring.
Or middle-aged. Dun dun dun. Somewhat like the tagline that you'll see in the image for this and the title. So, Nick, what did we see from Apple?
Well, it was a short keynote or town hall.
It felt longer.
Should I say. And overall, it was,
yeah,
a little uneventful, I would say.
Good.
So it started off great. I think there was a very strong message from Tim Cook about privacy with the whole FBI case. And I think that was a great place to start and to address everybody that was watching with Apple's side. And I think the way he stated it was very eloquent and to the point without being, accusatory or anything like that. So I think that was a great opening.
Mm-hmm.
From there, they transitioned into the environment and all the wonderful things that Apple's doing to help the environment. They are now 93% sustainable in their energy use worldwide, and their goal is obviously 100%.
Yay!
So after announcing all of their environmental initiatives, they also announced a new part of HealthKit called CareKit, which, as Apple states on their website, is a new software framework designed to help developers enable people to actively manage their own medical conditions. So HealthKit is obviously involved in coming up with a condition based on a list of symptoms and extensive research and having people participate in getting to the cause and the symptoms of illnesses and diseases around the world. CareKit is more once you've been diagnosed. It allows the doctor to talk directly to the patient via the iPhone software to see how they're progressing through their care post-diagnosis, where they can be sent tests, asked questions, and obviously a whole bunch of other medical things that you can get through add-on tech, which helps the doctor actively manage the patient, as well as the patient actively communicate with the doctor and track the care. Following CareKit, Apple had announced a lot of, not a lot, but a good handful of new bands for the Apple Watch, a new set of materials, so nylon bands now, which I had a shot at looking at. I went to the store the other day, and they seem pretty nice. They're $49 like the sports band, so they're the cheapest band available. And, it's a little bit more... obviously you have the sport band, which is very athletic and sport, and it looks that way. So obviously a nylon band is like a nice non-sport but still cheap option. Obviously when you have other things around there, like $150 for the leather bands and stuff like that. And additionally, they had added a couple of new colors to the sport band and a new material, which, Marcin, I think you're excited about.
The black, what's it called? The Milanese loop. Right?
Yes, the black Milanese loop.
It's beautiful. I was just wondering, if I don't have a black Apple Watch, but I can get two watches now because of the new Watch OS. So
yes, you can now pair multiple watches to one iPhone.
So that's a consideration for me.
The other big thing with Apple Watch is that they've dropped the introductory price from $349 to $299. Marcin would like to point out that this is a rare price drop given the fact that they haven't enhanced the product any, which I think has happened on occasion, but it is rare for Apple.
The iPhone, the OG, I think.
Yeah, I think they want to just make, the watch more accessible. I think, as time has gone on, I'm sure their costs have been reduced a little bit now that they're now mass producing these things.
And people's expectations are steadily rising.
Yes, so I think, there's a lot of other deals going out there, and I don't really know how that all works, but there's a lot of other third-party places selling these watches for cheaper, and I think Apple wants to bring some of that revenue back directly in-house by dropping it to $299.
We gotta move those stock, boys. That watches won't move themselves. That's what's happening at Best Buy. Basically, like the manager calling out to all the... get rid of them. They've been sitting here too long.
That's not a direct quote.
It is. I interviewed this guy. Said he was a Best Buy manager. Okay, sorry.
Following the Apple Watch announcements, there was an update to, well, actually, after the announcement, they've updated all of their operating systems, watchOS, macOS, iOS, and Apple TV OS. But with the Apple TV came some new enhancements, such as the ability to make folders, which as soon as I got home that evening, I downloaded the latest software and started making folders. Definitely something that should have been included in the original release of Apple TV, but for whatever reason it wasn't. And we got it today, and we're very thankful for it.
I don't get the folders. What exactly are you putting in the folders?
So obviously with the new Apple TV, relatively new, you have the ability to download apps from the App Store, where in the past it was just randomly as apps came, they'd appear on your home screen and you'd have to hide them. But now with the App Store, obviously you can start to download a significant amount of apps, and things get a little bit cluttered as you just have one now long list of apps, sort of like how you'd have pages on iOS. With folders, you can group things together, so it's a little bit easier to navigate around. So I have a folder for games where I put all my Apple TV games in. I have a folder for shopping with a couple of shopping apps. I have a folder for health for a couple of exercise apps. I have a folder for TV networks, since all of the individual networks more or less have their own apps. So like CBS, NBC, ABC, History Channel, HGTV. They all have their own apps, which you can log in through with your Time Warner cable subscription or the like Fios, DirecTV, stuff like that. And you can view content from those apps. So the folders are definitely a great help in navigating around the Apple TV. But again, I think something that should have came out with the original Apple TV on launch.
A theme.
Following the Apple TV, I don't know if this is, don't quote me on this, but I think it's very rare, if not the first time that Apple has released a new iPhone off of the standard September iPhone release. I think the first iPhone was maybe announced in June.
January.
No.
Right before CES or around it.
The original iPhone.
Announced.
I don't believe you.
Because Steve Jobs told all the journalists to CES and go to his event.
Nope, the release date of the iPhone was June 29th, 2007.
No, but it was announced 6 months beforehand.
Okay, you're right. It is the first generation of iPhone that was announced on January 9th.
Yes!
You win this round.
Continue.
So the iPhone SE, standing for Special Edition. Now that title may cause a little eyebrow to be raised here and there, whether or not this is something that they want to keep refreshing, or if it's just a one-off thing, considering it's a special edition.
Yeah, I mean, you want to go into the specs first and we can discuss that?
So it's pretty much the same as a 6S. It's got the advanced processor, the co-processor, the camera. No 3D touch, I will say.
Probably wouldn't have fit or something.
Yeah, something like that. Who knows? Same design as the iPhone 5S, which I have always said, you can quote me, you can go back in the records, that I think the iPhone 5S was Apple's nicest iPhone ever made. So I'm personally happy with that design decision. I don't think it's old, as a lot of people are saying. I think it is the most beautiful iPhone design ever created.
I kind of agree.
$400. Marcin was not surprised by this, but I was. I knew it was obviously going to be cheaper, but I think that's significantly cheaper than the 6S, given the fact that it has all of the same. It's got the same beef in it.
Well, I'm sure their margins are slightly smaller, but they're also saving a lot on the reuse of the old design. They might even, I don't know how that works, like if they've had old 5S cases, but they've had all this equipment and stuff that used to make 5S or still made 5S, they could just switch over to this SE, so that probably saves costs. And there's no 3D touch, so I'm assuming that like it's like 10, $20 there or something like that. But,
Yeah, definitely. So I do. I'm surprised. I think it's a good. There's talks a couple of years ago before the iPhone 6 came out and sales exploded. What Apple is going to do for the third world market,
emerging markets.
right? Emerging markets, if you will.
Yeah, but I mean, we've gone a little bit back and forth on this. I think there are two factors here that they have to not be careful with, but maybe it's not. Maybe that kind of plays into the special edition thing, where it's almost like they know there's a market there for people who still don't want to switch, but they're just getting into this at least temporarily until they can see what the next step is, and then the emerging markets play, which I don't know. I thought like big screen phones came like they were weird before. And then, like, everyone in the US started to buy them because it's all those emerging markets folks that bought them first. I feel like it's their thing. So is a smaller phone really going to change people's minds? A cheaper price point will, of course. There's definitely cheaper phones, but there's an expectation with Apple. What do you think?
Yeah, I know. Obviously, people like bigger phones, and they do have that option. It is more expensive, so I would think that if you are in a very sensitive price market, that you won't turn away from one of the fastest, if not the fastest, or on par with the 6S, Apple's phones. Latest technologies all in there. So if you're in one of these markets and you need a phone, and obviously you think the iPhone 6S is too expensive, you get all of the good stuff of the 6S in just a smaller case for a much cheaper price. If I was one of those people, I would say why not? Following the iPhone SE announcement, Apple had made the announcement to the next generation of iPads, kind of, if you will, 10-inch iPads. They have brought all of the good stuff of the 13-inch iPad Pro into the wonderful 9.7-inch size, which I have to say, I have some hands-on experience. When the iPad Pro came out, I did try it for a week. I was very impressed by all of the technology inside of it. I thought it was lightning fast. I loved the weight and the style of it. The speakers were incredible. I did play around with the pen. I didn't try the keyboard. I tried the keyboard in the store. I don't have a problem typing on touchscreen, so I'm not a big keyboard person, but it was a fairly nice keyboard. The pencil was very good. I thought the latency, I haven't, again, tried many other styluses, but I didn't really have an issue with latency. And I think it was very well made.
Okay. Styli? For plural styluses?
Styluses.
Okay, fine.
I don't know. Look it up.
Styli?
So I actually did wind up returning the iPad Pro because despite all of the amazing specs inside of it, I really did think it was too big for my use. Again, for me, it's not a laptop replacement. It's more of an in-between device, as the iPad has always been. Something for me to surf the web on the couch, read a book on the train, or watch some TV in bed. Obviously, watching stuff like Netflix was very, very, very nice on the big screen. But when it came to quickly typing or browsing on the couch, it was just a little bit too big. So I am very excited with the 9.7-inch iPad Pro, which brings most of the 13-inch glory. There's a couple of things that have been seemingly changed. Mainly 4 gigabytes of RAM to 2 gigabytes of RAM, which hurts me the hardest.
How's that pro? How is that pro?
A couple of other things along the way, such as the Lightning port only supports USB 2 data transfer speeds instead of USB 3. Why they cut these corners, I don't know. Your guess is as good as mine. But it is all of the main guts and glory of the 13-inch in the 9.7-inch screen, which I have to say, give it to my man Steve. When the first iPad came out, he said they tested every display size and he thought 9.7 inches was perfect for a tablet. And I think that remains true. What are we like, 5, 6 years later?
Yeah, and what was it? A two-thirds or more of those 300 million iPads sold?
Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So I really do think I had the pleasure of going back to my girlfriend's fourth generation iPad and comparing side by side the size, and I think the 9.7-inch is ideal. Needless to say, I woke up on Wednesday morning at 3 a.m. Eastern Standard Time to pre-order mine, which didn't seem to be necessary. If you
Uh-huh.
check the next couple of days, they were still guaranteeing March 31st delivery,
You
but
can
now
still
they're
pre-order
not.
them. Okay, no, they're not in delivery today. Yeah, I mean on
Yes,
31st.
now they're saying April 4th to April 6th.
Okay.
But I will be very excited come Thursday when my iPad Pro 9.7-inch gets delivered.
Okay, Nick. One or two things. $599 starting price. But it's the same thing, just better, which is what we've always expected from tech gadgets. But has the price ever gone up? No. What is this?
So dramatic. It's only $100, Marcin.
Trying to spice up the show. Come on. Hit me.
Yes, I was very surprised by that price increase. But they did switch from the whole, 16, 64, 128 to 32, 128, 256.
Yeah. They can get away with that. Sort of.
I guess if you're looking at it maybe from a, product planning perspective based on where it fits in the range of having the iPad 2 Air 2 around and the minis and your pros, maybe they took a good evaluation at where this now fits in the current scheme product line, and they think that that's a better price. Who am I to decide that, right?
Yeah, the consumer will decide, as always.
And people that are going to get an iPad are not going to care about that.
But there's less and less of them every quarter.
I do have to say though that the iPad Air 2 is very attractive at $399.
It is. We should have started there. Then maybe iPad sales would have stayed flat instead of collapsing.
Yeah, well, there's nothing like reinvigorating a declining market by raising the price of a product.
Genius. They're also. I found this funny when the Tim Cook said who, or was it Tim or
Phil Schiller.
Phil Schiller? He said who these iPads were for, and I actually chuckled. And he said they were for first time iPad users and PC upgraders. So I have a line in our notes that says "seriously?" question mark, pointed to my name, and I'm
So
asking seriously.
So let me break down the mold here, remove some of your bias. I don't think they said it was for specifically these groups of people.
Uh,
I think Apple always likes to tell the markets that there are always new people that they can reach. So I think you always have to say that from a business. What are they going to say? Oh, we're just going to sell these iPads to existing iPad owners. They're not going to say that. So they're going to give statistics to show the market that there is a lot of room for iPads to grow. I do think, as always, even if they didn't go with Pro and they just made an iPad Air 3, this is obviously going to be the best and the latest and greatest iPad that they have to offer. Does it reignite someone who is on the fence about getting an iPad? Now, are they sold on an iPad based on this? No, I don't think so necessarily. I don't think that this is going to reinvigorate the demand for iPads. But having said that, it is the latest and greatest, and based on the reviews that have started trickling in today, people seem to agree that this is the greatest iPad.
First, I'll bash it more, then I'll follow up with a little bit of a. I'll be a little bit nicer.
Some common sense.
Yeah, common sense first. First, they gave this environmental message about, oh, we conserve energy. 93% is from renewables. We have what's his name, Liam. He's like a robot, and he's actually the coolest product announced, but he's not a product thing announced at this show. It's like this,
That'd be cool if they made that into a product. Like you could buy it and it just takes apart things in your house.
including you. But anyway, that comes later. That's in the quick bites. Um, I don't know why you'd give an environmental message and then say, hey, your 5-year-old PCs that are working perfectly fine, you should just throw them out and get iPads. That's very off message. And what about 5-year-old Macs or iPads? I read a survey that 20% of iPads are iPad 2 or 1, which are more than 5 years old.
Which, I have to say, I had an iPad 3rd generation, and I recently sold it because I was finally fed up with it. I think it became unusable. For my needs, I consider myself a fairly heavy iPad user. My mom has the iPad 2, and she uses it every morning to check her email and play some of those word games. She's a big Scrabble fan. So she isn't, she isn't disturbed by the slowness of an iPad 2. But I do have to say that it took me a good amount of time to upgrade from the iPad 3 to finally wanting a new iPad. So I definitely think that there is a slower upgrade cycle. The whole environmental thing, okay, that sounds like an argument from a Trump supporter.
Thanks.
Comparing two things that are completely irrelevant because you can still recycle an old computer.
Well, they're harder to recycle when they're older, but okay, whatever.
I don't think Apple by any means wants you to hold on to old technology just to help the environment. I don't think that helps their bottom line.
Well, I'm just using every attack I can.
It was sort of set up well if you want to look at the unbiased perspective, or maybe the other biased, is that, hey, we can recycle old devices and make new ones. So I think you should recycle your old device and buy one of our new ones that are made of recycled old material.
Sure. You get half a point for that one. I'll say, as a pure tablet device, and there is a market out there, even if it's not as big as people thought, or, everyone assumed that the growth curve iPad along with Android, I think like 2012 to 2014, it was exploding, and I think it was faster than smartphone sales were going. So everyone thinks, there's going to be a billion tablet users out there by 2015. That never really happened. One, Android just never caught up. And two, there's just, one, people don't replace their iPads fast enough because they're, like Nick said, a heavy user. Has only upgraded his 3rd generation. What are we, 4 generations on from that, approximately, right?
Yeah, you had your iPad 4th generation, your
Air?
iPad Air, and then your iPad Air 2. So this would be the 4th one.
So that's fine. But it is, having used an iPad, it is the best pure tablet if that's what you're looking for. I'm just not sure. I just know, well, as much as anyone can know, that it's not the next thing. It's another thing next to everything else. And
yes,
it looks great.
And I think that fits in with the rather uneventful announcement, is that everything that we've seen today was just another reiteration. They're making things smaller in the iPhone SE case and making it smaller as well in the iPad Pro, and that we haven't really seen anything remarkably revolutionary, at least in this town hall. But having said that, that's been the sentiment with Apple for a while, and it's kind of cyclical. So, sales go down, and then people start saying, "Oh, is Apple boring?" And then you have the iPhone 6 come out, and everyone's like, "Oh my God, Apple's amazing! Let's buy Apple." Look at all of the sales, and then and then they don't do anything for a while, and it's like Apple's boring, and they're gonna come out with the next thing, and everyone's gonna be like, "Oh my God, Apple's amazing!" And then it'll get boring again. So we're in a lull period. It's a cyclical. This is a recession of Apple. We will not go into depression this cycle.
You're saying it'll be like a 15-inch iPad next, because that's what the 6 was. They made it bigger.
27-inch iMac/iPad.
Surface desktop. Let's see who does it first. Let's see.
Yeah, just what I want, a touchscreen 27-inch so my arms fall off.
No, that's a good point. It'd be really stupid. It'd have to be a little different than what we're visualizing.
I do have to say, though, one of the things that I will expect to tweet with a lot of exclamations come Thursday night, Friday afternoon, is how excited and how amazing True Tone Display is going to be, which for our less tech savvy listeners, True Tone Display uses some sensors in the iPad to detect ambient light and the color temperature in the room. And it's designed to mimic real paper. So if you bring real white paper into a room with like fluorescent lights, it's going to look a little bit more bluer. You bring it outside, it's going to look a little bit more yellower, so the screen will change its color temperature to mimic the ambient light, which I think is, another big step in devices, in screens, in making them more readable. And I think it moves the needle a little bit on display tech, at least.
And I think this is a little bit corny because not all they did, but they added more speakers. And I've heard and read that the audio quality and volume is a lot louder. So using it like a portable boombox or watching TV shows or something in the kitchen when you're away from other screens is a respectable use case.
Twice as loud as the previous iPad, and boombox would be very interesting to see like some kid wearing like sneakers around their neck walking down the street holding
carrying it
iPad
over their shoulder.
Yeah. Over their shoulder.
As it slips out and everyone laughs, cracks.
I'm just going to bypass the bulge on the back of the device for cameras, and we can move on to the next topic.
Yes, go ahead. Let's take some quick bites. I already ate today, but for the audience's benefit.
It is a Monday night, so we are well fed, even though a little bit sleepy.
So, there's a fun story. How do we start? Microsoft on Tuesday released a bot. This bot was named Tay. Tay.ai. I think Tay was her name and Tay.ai is the website. And she was a conversational learning bot that was letting... Microsoft Research was mostly involved in this, which is like their research arm that makes a lot of different tech, not products, lots of concepts and tests new ideas and technology, and some of that finds its way into their products. But this was supposed to be like one of those branches of AI. They have Cortana, they have lots of AI research. So this was another one of them. And she was supposed to speak, she was targeted towards like the 13 to 24 demographic, which put me in that group, which was a little bit weird because the things that she was saying weren't, even at the beginning, weren't very, very intelligible. Although I've seen other teenagers write, so I know that it was accurate, her speech patterns. And she was funny. I mean, like... some person could ask, hey, do you think I look old, and like send a picture, and then she'll like respond in some really corny way about, and now like it recognizes that you're asking about her age, so she'll answer in that kind of a way. They had like comedians write some of the lines, but some of it was natural learning, and that was the point. Whenever you spoke to her, she learned what the audience was asking of her and how they were responding to her responses. So she was not mimicking, but somehow like following along and learning what the appropriate responses would be. So a group of idiots overnight,
aka the internet,
yes, ambushed her. And it's funny because we're at the point
ambushed her.
No, okay, so let me see if I can. I'm pulling up the article. The title of the next day's piece on BuzzFeed was "Racist Twitter bot went awry due to quote-unquote coordinated effort by users." It's almost like someone had ambushed her, like a coordinated effort, like, someone is defaming like a politician, so you have like all these attack ads, and they're like, it's sort of like she was, and I'm saying she all the time, because we're getting to that point where we treat AI as people and it's getting really creepy and scary. But besides that, she did learn how to be racist, and she learned how to hate all manner of people. She learned to love Hitler, things like that. So they took her down, and I'll quote Microsoft on this. The AI chatbot Tay is a machine learning project designed for human engagement. It is as much a social and cultural experiment as it is technical. Unfortunately, within the first 24 hours of coming online, we became aware of a coordinated effort by some users to abuse Tay's communication skills, to have Tay respond in inappropriate ways. As a result, we have taken Tay offline and are making adjustments. And I think a funny thing is, someone asked her before they took her online, is like, are they taking you in? Yeah, they'll be taking me offline for a few hours. I don't know when I'll be back. So like, it's just really weird stuff happening in 2016. But I'm sure this will only become more of the norm as AI becomes integrated into our lives. I mean, there's two things we could take out of this. I know maybe you can add on or agree or disagree. I think one, there's a lot of shitty people out there. So like even experiments like this, which are cool in the beginning, turn awry, especially if you don't think through. And second, this kind of sets up how we want to have AI learn or respond to us in the future. Because there's two approaches. One, you can have someone like Tay who learns from the users what the appropriate mannerisms are in addition to just learning knowledge and data. Or you have something like M, which Facebook is building to Messenger, which never takes a position on anything and is only designed to present you data and take in information, so it can never offend anyone. And that's becoming somewhat of like a two-design philosophy in the field, in this very young AI field. But it was interesting, funny, and extremely sad and scary because of how fast an AI can go from innocent to racist. I think it took less than 18 hours.
I think Elon Musk has a point when he says artificial intelligence is going to kill us all.
Yeah, just 24 hours to become racist and hate Jews.
I mean, if I was Microsoft and I was, creating a artificial bot, I may program in certain things for it not to say. But what do I know about the world?
I think they were too innocent. They didn't understand the reality of humanity.
So, in other words, Microsoft doesn't know how the internet works. Next topic.
Go ahead.
I just have one quick bite for everyone, and it'll be a very quick one to end the show. There was this wonderful suite of professional grade plugins for photographers called, it used to be called just the Nick collection of plugins, but now Google bought it out a couple years ago, so it became the Google Nick collection of plugins. One specifically I'd like to call out is Silver FX Pro, which is an industry standard black and white conversion. For those of you who are not familiar, obviously you can just turn on black and white in your standard photo editing software, and everything kind of looks a little bit muted. It's all like gray and washed out. Silver FX takes it to the next level. Just one example of the stuff that is in Google Nix. But late last week, we found out that Google is now making this free. It used to cost $150, and I always had it on my wish list. But now it's free. So that's great, bringing professional grade photo editing software to the consumer at the price of nothing. And if you happen to buy it in any time in 2016, Google will refund you the money. So if you bought it on New Year's Eve as a gift to yourself, you're out of luck. But if you bought it on New Year's Day, enjoy your $150 back.
So good job, Google, but that doesn't mean we're friends now.
Yes. Still don't like you.
Good. That's the show, right, Nick?
That is the show. Thank you for listening in this week's ClashCast. We hope to talk to you again soon. Thanks for listening.
Thanks.